What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are staying safe out there as always in this choppy market. I'm here making a video in Montana. Do not have my normal setup. I've been traveling a bit, and yes, this background is in fact real. One of the most beautiful places on earth. I've been enjoying it out here, and let's jump on into the video. So today we're just starting out looking at the monthly time frame. On the Revin ribbons. We're going to look at a few other time frames on the ribbons and the momentum oscillator and just get a bias for price direction in the near and far term. Then we'll jump into some strategies and look at quickly finding some ways to optimize, because I have had a few questions. Users have been finding that strategies have been underperforming. Some of the strategies especially have been underperforming in this choppy market. So we're going to look at ways we can possibly optimize as we are in, it seems, a bit of a different market period. All right, jumping on into the monthly time frame, we can see we are barely below this resistance 1 band. The resistance 1 band is at 110. We're at 109, but this is on the monthly, and we have 10 more days on the monthly time frame. So we'll see where this heads from here. But we do find that if it closes below that resistance 1 band, we do oftentimes get a test at least into the midline. The midline is at 100, is about a little bit below 100K, and a lot of times we do see some wicks even a little bit lower. So that could possibly be wicks into the low 90s. This still is bullish on the monthly time frame, though, as long as we are closing above this midline. And we oftentimes do see that it does find a lot of support, at least in the last few market periods, as it's had some moves to the upside, then consolidations, move to the upside, consolidations. The consolidations oftentimes do, again, base off of here. And so it's not bearish by any means, in my opinion, until we start closing below this midline, which is about 100K. So I'm not necessarily afraid of that, but it does mean possibly see price down another 10 or 15% from here at worst case scenario. Let me kind of just do the worst case scenario. Yeah, looking at maybe 13% from here, 13 to 15% from here at worst case. And then if it does start going a bit lower than that, I start changing my bias to the downside. Let's look at the 10-day time frame, and we'll work our way backwards from here. 10-day time frame does have a price target down to 102, which is not much lower than it is right now. So it did find support off of this support 1 ribbon right there, though the momentum oscillator for the 10-day time frame is still positioned to the downside and will remain to the downside as long as we are below 118K, but that is slowly grinding its way down. In 6 days, it will, that will turn over to 117 that we need to get above, and that does show us that we do need to get about above this resistance, I guess just barely above barely below this resistance 1 ribbon right here to turn momentum to the upside on the 10-day time frame. We are, however, running out of time. It does say that we have 1 bar left in an average move. And you can see that the average, let's see, we can actually look here how long we've taken. So like the 50th percentile takes 12 bars. Our average move takes as much as 24 bars, which is actually quite a bit longer than we are. But we do see that our peak to the downside is, so sorry, that is the wrong number. We have 24 iterations of this. Our duration is 7 bars, and our peak bar is 4 bars. So let's just look at here. Again, we're looking at average move, cross to the downside right here. We have seen 4 bars right here. So the peak, currently the peak negative bar was actually the 5th bar right there, and we are on our 6th bar. So our 7th bar, we do expect momentum to start slowly turning to the upside here, unless we see some major downside movement. So, again, this is not necessarily bearish. I would say not very, very bullish until we get above 118K on the 10-day time frame. But we are running out of time on, again, an average move. All right, so that's a 10-day time frame. Let's look at the daily really quickly. We are just on the edge of turning to the upside. We have to close today above 108, and it is just barely above 108 right now. And the fact it's at $108,500, just rounding up a little bit, or tomorrow above just under 108. So it does seem like 108K is quite a pivot right now to turn to the upside. And let's put it in bar replay so we can see what the average moves to the upside is when we are on an upside move. So I just put it in bar replay so we could see our cross up. Our mean, our average right here is about 15% to the upside, and it takes about 7 bars. And the peak bar is around 4 bars in. So let me, again, take this out of bar replay and just kind of get a bit of a bias from here. If we do turn up from here, I believe it was about a 15% move to the upside, which would be, no surprise, just right around this dotted midline, which is 124K. However, this would mean that the 10-day time frame momentum moves to the upside, and the monthly time frame starts, really going to the upside there. So if we do get our average daily move here in the next couple days, it will be a little bit more promising. The last thing to look at, though, just looking at the ribbons themselves, we did see a nice support found off the second touch into this dotted midline, which, if you've seen past videos, I have talked about the second touch into that dotted midline oftentimes finds a bounce. We did see our bounce hit today, the 114 target area. So for anyone that's scalping off of areas like that, that was a nice move to the upside to close a trade right there. In the past, however, if we've seen a rejection off of this midline here, it doesn't necessarily bode super well for the short term. We can see here in the past we had a rejection off of there. We did see another test down, and actually a couple more tests before we found support and then moved to the upside. Back here, momentum was to the downside, so a bit different, but once we closed below, we did see momentum was to the downside there. And I think there was a couple other iterations in the past. Okay, here we go. So yeah, price closed below it and wicked into it slightly and did see some down price action. So, do we see one more test down again? Possibly, but again, since the momentum is about to turn to the upside, I would not necessarily get super bearish for the short term. Again, just looking at the general statistics here. All right, unfortunately, my internet is insanely slow out here, so I am not going to be able to do any tweaks or updates to these strategies, but I will do that in the next couple days. So stay tuned for a video on optimizing strategies for the current market period, and we'll look at the 30-minute and possibly an hourly time frame to update some strategies, and we'll go from there. But again, stay safe. Patience is the key, and I'll see you guys in the next video.